Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Idea Stage week with TechRise. I am Desiree Vargas Wrigley, the Executive Director of TechRise. And if you are unfamiliar with us, if this is your first time watching, TechRise is an initiative started by P33 and in partnership with Verizon and many of our other cities' ecosystem partners to really support our city's Black and Latinx founders all the way from idea stage to exit. So each week we have 3 to 5 competitors come on stage, and those are idea stage to seed stage, Black and Latinx entrepreneurs pitching their visions. They have about 4 minutes to pitch, followed by questions from the judges. And then the judges go live and deliberate, and we announce the winners live at the end of the hour. So make sure that you stay tuned for the entire time so you can see who's going to win $20,000 today. If this is your first time with us, I just want to let you know that there are a few ways that you can get involved with TechRise. So one is you can join the community anytime as a mentor, as a potential founder, as just someone in our ecosystem wanting to know what's going on. So you can go to techrise.co/join. And then, of course, this is designed to be a friends and family round fund. Oh, wait, someone's not. Sorry, someone's not on mute, and that was really inappropriate. Sorry about that. Hopefully we got that out. This is live streaming, so apparently that's what happens sometimes. Anyway, there's other ways to get involved, and one of them is as a sponsor or a funder. So, this fund is a $5 million fund designed to be a friends and family round of funding for Black and Latinx entrepreneurs. So our city's philanthropic communities coming together, our corporate philanthropic communities coming together, startups and VCs have contributed, and also individuals. So anytime you want to contribute, you can do that at techrise.co/donate. And 100% of those funds goes directly to the founders that you're going to see on stage here in a little bit. Right. So I would love to introduce you now to our judges. Let's see here. I'm losing my place and think, sorry, really quickly, I'm here. Okay, so first we have Matt Pulley joining us. He's an angel investor and the former CTO of Home Chef, which delivers home-cooked meals to people's doorsteps. You've probably now seen it in your grocery store because they had a very fantastic exit. And under his leadership, the company grew, I thought I was misreading this at first, but 60,000%, is that right? That is definitely hypergrowth and such an exciting Chicago story. And it's amazing to have Matt here because he is going to be joining us in a couple of weeks through our deliberation time, but also he's joined as a really meaningful sponsor of TechRise personally. So we thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise with our team and our founders, and we're really thrilled to have you here. Next, we have Deldelp Medina. She's Executive Director of Black and Brown Founders, which provides community education and access to Black and Latinx entrepreneurs creating tech businesses. For the past decade, she has worked on creating systems for equity in the startup ecosystem, and she's been listed as one of the 6 Latina founders to watch on TechCrunch. So Deldelp, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. And then our last judge is Leandro Bedoya. He is a VC at M25 here in Chicago, which is actually the most active pre-seed and seed stage firm investing in the Midwest and headquartered here. I guess you're investing across 14 states and 100 plus companies, and it's just in the last few years. Leandro was previously an associate for Techstars Anywhere and part of Tech Coast Angels Analyst Program, and built up the Startup San Diego ecosystem as Managing Director of Sponsorships and a lead organizer for San Diego Startup Week. So Leandro, it's great to have you. Also, Leandro and I know each other because M25 invested in Parachute, and I can say from personal experience what an incredible firm they are for early stage founders, from their CEO summits to their very generous spirit in terms of helping introduce you to additional funding resources. So I'm just going to plug them heavily because if you haven't applied for funding from them or gotten a chance to pitch, you should go to M25. All right, well, thank you all. We'll see you back on for the questions in a few minutes. And now I think we're ready to welcome our first competitor to this stage. So our first startup competing is Lillian Augusta, and the founder, Nana Britwum, is ready to go. We're ready to go when you are.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nana Britwum, and I am a scientist, steward of the environment, and more importantly, a Black woman that wears braids. And I'm here to tell you today about Lillian Augusta. So Braids have been my go-to hairstyle since I was about 5 years old. And for as long as I could remember, I looked forward to the beautiful hairstyles my mom would create, but I dreaded all the itching and burning that came with it. Like many others, I thought I was the problem, but I wasn't. It's actually the hair. It's called synthetic braiding hair, and it's made out of carcinogenic materials, specifically polyacrylonitrile and polyvinyl chloride. Yep, the same PVC material found at your local hardware store is in braiding hair. And this leads to irritation such as itchy scalp, skin acne, and neck pain. And from our customer discovery research, we found that 42% of Black women experience some form of irritation with braiding hair. And the problem only gets worse from here. Once I'm done with the hair, I cut it off and toss it and becomes another form of single-use plastic pollution. And we've estimated that in the US alone, 97.8 million pounds of plastic waste comes from braiding hair annually. And this is a product that's used worldwide. So if we were to account for that, that number would grow exponentially. So this didn't sit well with Janice and I. So we came together to create a solution, and our solution is plant-based braiding hair, a lightweight, toxin-free, and biodegradable alternative to the plastic hair on the market. Now, just for a better overview of how folks purchase braiding hair typically, anyone from an amateur braider such as myself or a professional will go to a beauty supply store in any town, USA, and purchase plastic hair. It's a lackluster experience and you're not excited to do it. So we'll be bypassing that by going direct to consumer via our e-commerce platform. And of course, we'll be creating a product that doesn't cause any irritation and is a sustainable option from a Black female founded company. So in terms of the market, the Black hair care space is estimated to be worth $500 billion according to Mintel. And we're really honing in on Black women that have natural hair, specifically those that are high earners in the New York, DC, and Atlanta metropolitan areas. So from here, we can look at our competitive landscape, and the majority of these folks are selling plastic hair that is low grade in nature. This is quite disappointing, especially since Black consumers are spending 9 times as much on beauty and hair care products than any other demographic. So for us, we're selling a product that won't cause that irritation that people have been accustomed to. And we will be using green flame retardants as the typical brands use products that contain halogens, which further leads to irritation. And of course, we will keep the things that folks like about braiding hair, the multiple lengths and the variety of colors. So why should we be the ones to tackle this on? Janice and I both have an intimate experience with this pain point as we wear braids, and we have a background to back it up. So I studied plant science at Cornell for undergrad, and I studied biology for my graduate program, and Janice studied ecology in grad school. And we're not alone. We have a team of great mentors to support us. We have Peter Miner from Carbon 180 and Renee Morris, head of Uncle Funky's Daughter, a Black hair care brand, and John Posha, who has over 40 years of material science experience with Johnson & Johnson. So where are we now? Thus far, we've raised a little over $100,000, and we have a provisional patent on Phragmites-based braiding hair. And of course, we've done customer discovery with over 200 Black women, and we've been featured in the press in places like Essence, Gravity, and Crain's Detroit. At the end of the day, we know that Black women will continue wearing these hairstyles. We just want to ensure that they're safe for us and the environment. Experience hair without harm with Lillian Augusta. Thank you.
All right, now we can invite the judges on screen to ask some questions.
Hey there. Thank you for presenting to us today. The thing that I'd like to learn more about is how you're thinking about supply chain in regards to, the material supply, partners, the manufacturing, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking that. I just want to point out that we're still in the prototyping phase, and I actually have in a couple of the prototypes in my hair right now. So initially, we were going about this by developing the filaments ourselves in a lab while we were grad students, and that was a lot of stress in terms of that. So we're really focusing on partnering with folks that are already experienced in working with innovative filaments. So a lot of our partners are in the textile space. And after this, I would be more than happy to share our breakdown of the phases that we're doing in order to reach our MVP, but we project that it'll cost about $142,000 to do so. And we're still in the extrusion phase of the discovery step.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And so to piggyback on that question, as you're thinking as the eventual going to market phase, like what does that look like? Are you going to be wholesaling? Are you going to be retailing? Just to go a little bit more into that.
Yeah, of course. So right now, there's not really an established wholesale market for braiding hair. As I mentioned earlier, if you're a professional stylist, you're going to the beauty supply store just as a regular consumer would do. So we're really going to just stick to what people are used to in that respect and really focus on building those strong partnerships with high-end salons where their consumers are focused on luxury experiences.
A similar question, you mentioned direct to consumer, I think e-commerce. Can you give an idea of the recurring, how often will your customers buy? And is it on the e-commerce side, are you thinking about something maybe of a subscription?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So anyone can fall in the spectrum of how often you braid your hair. You could be a super user such as myself, where it's like 5 times a year and that is your go-to hairstyle. And then some folks will only braid their hair over the summer. So we have looked at the subscription model and we'd be interested in doing something where folks can have reoccurring drop-offs for 3, 6, or 9 months, depending on what their needs are. But we do really want to focus on those that engage with the product more regularly since they are experiencing that irritation more often.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Nana. You did a wonderful job. And now I am going to invite Francisco Sebastian from SixKeys onto the stage. All right.
Yes.
We're ready for you when you are. And then.
Yeah, you were saying?
I was actually going to tell Leandro to go off camera, but he took care of it. So you're good. So we're ready whenever you are.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you, P33, everybody, YouTube. Thank you for watching. My name is Francisco or Frankie from SixKeys, and I am here to support shop local or locally business and increase everybody's productivity. If I could have everybody just type in if yes, no, if you support local. And if so, which business do you support? I wish I could type, but I can't type. But one business I would say for myself is Pasta Passion. They're an amazing restaurant here in Chicago. So I encourage everybody to go visit. It's amazing local business. And now, what's the problem? Well, like I said, local, because of the pandemic, local business really have been affected the most, specifically in the restaurant industry. There's third-party delivery platforms where that's really the main problem. They're charging a lot of small business owners close to 48% of every sale. So that's a really big problem. And after speaking with many business owners, many restaurant owners, they need a solution fast, pronto. And so that's where me and my team come into play, SixKeys. Right now we're starting with small local restaurants. We're giving them access to a very easy to use POS and takeout order. Many of these business owners, they're not really tech savvy. And I've seen firsthand, some have, not to mention third-party platforms, but they have these platforms and it's still sort of too tech, these owners must be tech savvy. And so that's where SixKeys come into play. We're very, very simple to use, both for the users to order food, as well as for the business owners to have orders very streamlined. I do like talking a lot. I like connecting with a lot of people, and even with a pre-MVP, I have 3 early adopters, 3 restaurants here in Chicago, and they're all 3 different cuisines, which is amazing. One's Italian, one's Asian, and then another one's is Tex-Mex, and those are our early adopters. And so this market is very saturated. So what's in it for the users is, like I said, it's very simple to use. And there's also a social component to this. For example, every 6th time you order, and you could order anywhere, you'll get a signature dish from that specific restaurant. So I really want to make supporting local really fun. And SixKeys is at the forefront of that. Our long-term mentality is right now we're helping small restaurants, but because this market is very saturated, our long-term mentality is actually to be at the forefront in creating smart cities. I believe using the underlying tech of helping restaurants can be used to solve this problem. I don't know if any of you been to DNVs, but there's huge lines, pretty ridiculous. And so I think SixKeys can be a solution to that as well. Here's a little timeline. Q3 of this year, helping restaurants. Next year, by the beginning of next year, help the DNVs. I'm very impatient, so I hate standing. And so that's one of the problems I would love to solve. And then Q4, if not Q1 in 2023 is smart cities, using technology a little bit wiser than what it is used now. This is myself, and here's a mission that I strongly believe, a great team. I love teamwork, collaboration, and so great team and great partnerships, great investors creates a great product that helps society. So that is what I'm heavily implanting in this startup. And yeah, thank you. I greatly value any feedback from all of you. I look forward to your questions. And just one last thing. This is what happened to Airbnb. They had one idea, did not work. Second idea did work. So if anybody's interested, I do have another second idea, which is a smart ring I have right here. But we could talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, thank you very much for having me here.
All right, we'll bring the judges on now to ask some questions, and you can stop sharing screen.
So could you share a little bit about like what the solution is? Like, how does it work?
It's a simple to use takeout. So anyone can order food to small local restaurants or takeout.
And how does that like play into the idea that you would scale into doing this sort of other thing, which is like working with DMVs, which I totally agree with you. If you add passport offices to that too, I'm totally there. But I just want to understand how you go from this to that.
Yeah. To order takeout, it's you're in a queue. So you order and then the restaurant gets your order and you're say number 5 in that order. So that technology, the underlying technology can be applied to when you go to DNVs, when you're not ordering per se, but you're taking a place in line to go for your driver's license or ID. And so the queuing system, that's where it comes into place. That's a little bit later, but there's definitely a correlation.
And in essentially a marketplace such as this, how are you thinking about kind of seeding and growing both sides of it? You know, since you're starting off with restaurants, you know, those that are buying food, getting more restaurants on the platform, and as you go into other verticals, and you can keep defending those areas.
So your question is how to scale?
How are you thinking about your growth strategy in regards to getting more users and more restaurants on board versus other options?
Okay. There is one app out there called Chowbus. How they grew is just one little small Asian restaurant, and that was their whole target, Asian restaurants, and they exponentially grew. And so I believe I would also follow the same path. Small restaurants first, or just that small restaurants. Right now, as I said, I have 3. So just trying to improve the system, get them more users, and then just grow from there. Specifically word of mouth. I think that's how we can scale. Yeah.
Thanks, Francisco. Good pitch and energy. What you mentioned, you have 3 early adopters. Can you talk about what are the things that you've learned from those early adopters already?
Yeah, one, they're not tech savvy, and so with these other third platforms, they have to buy new hardware, and actually there's a learning curve for them to utilize it and tap and whatnot. And then there's another one where even with these third-party platforms, it's still pretty old school, so they're still writing down on a scratch paper. So it's really, the experience is very, very different for each restaurant, even with the same third-party platform. And so that's one thing these restaurant owners have told me, that they want a solution, just whichever platform they're in, just very, very simple to use. And so that's something I've learned. Simplicity is something these owners want.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Great job. And next we are going to invite Edua and Juan Maturino onto the stage.
For many American families, tutoring has failed. It has failed to engage students. It has failed to be accessible to all, and it's failed to be convenient. Now here's where Edua steps in. Edua is an interactive live stream tutoring platform that is dedicated to making education more entertaining, accessible, and insightful. With the average tutoring session costing anywhere from $20 to $100 per session, that's just out of the reach for most American families. Not only that, for families who can't afford it, they still have to make an appointment, they have to set up an appointment, they have to go to the appointment, and they have to spend time studying while wishing they were somewhere else. Edua's solution to this is by providing a 15-minute gamified live stream tutoring session in which students learn by playing a game. When a student wants to go onto the platform and view a session, they log on to the app, select the session that they want to attend, wait for the session to start, watch the tutor break down the concepts, and learn interactively by playing a game. Now, Edua takes the best of both Kahoot and Khan Academy, where Kahoot and Khan Academy show that customers and students are looking for a solution that provides high-quality educational content in a gamified format. Today, the online tutoring education industry is projected to grow to $15.99 billion by 2027. Our go-to-market right now starts with implementing Edua's curriculum with non-for-profits in the area in order to get user feedback during the summer. And as you can see, we have a plan of attack to get to 200 users on the platform by the end of the semester 2021. Now, our competitors. No one can achieve what Edua can achieve by offering affordable and entertaining tutoring platform. At a $12 subscription model, Edua beats the competition out of the water. Now, I could talk to you about my background and all of my accomplishments, which I'm very proud of, but I'm more proud about my personal background. Being an undocumented immigrant, growing up, when I was in high school, I didn't think there was any future outside of that, which led me to graduate with a 2.7 GPA. But when DACA gave me the resources to flourish, I was able to graduate with a 3.97 GPA. And it's because of this that I have the belief that anyone can succeed given the right resources. And because of this, Edua is committed to develop a program that provides free tutoring to any student that falls below the poverty line. Now, the reason that you should, if you were to choose Edua to win, is that your money would go farther. With the partnerships that I have with organizations like Innovation DuPage and the Lewis Incubator Hub, your money would be able to be used in a more proficient way. We'd be able to hire a graphic designer to design beautiful artwork for the sessions, invest into the existing technology infrastructure to lower our cost to 10 cents per session for us to produce, and subsidize the price of early tutors in order to provide students with the best education possible. Now, I hope that you would partner with me in changing the landscape of tutoring as we see it, so that there are more people like me that succeed. Thank you very much.
Great, and now we can bring the judges back on.
Thanks, Juan. Good pitch and presentation. You mentioned the gamification. Can you just talk a little bit more about where you imagine the content and curriculum coming from? Is this organic or?
Yeah, so one of the things from my own personal frustration in the ed tech space is that whenever you go to a platform, you don't know what you're going to get. You could get the worst content or you could get the best content. With Edua, we're the content creators. And so we are able to hold a high quality of content throughout any session. Pardon, I was looking at the wrong camera. And then one more thing, you asked about the games. So to begin with, we're starting off with a trivia show game format, but we eventually want to go on and to expand to other parts and other forms of games. So in the next 6 months, we want to introduce a communal game platform where you can play with your friends interactively. So you in the tutoring session, you invite your friend, you could play together, play against each other, or play against another group of people.
Hey, Juan. Yeah, the undocumented DACA dreamer aspect, congrats on the come up. A lot of people in those situations. It is what it is. But I'm curious to know a bit more on how you're thinking about the curriculum itself. Like, are there particular classes that you would be creating content, like class-based content, or high school versus middle school and high school? How are you thinking about those different areas?
Of course. So our initial target market are high schoolers, specifically those taking Algebra 2 Trig. I'm going to be the initial tutor for the platform for the first 6 months. But the interesting thing is that we follow Common Core's timeline. So we're able to give students the content they need when they need it. We also have a buffer so that, let's say, for example, Common Core says you're supposed to be at this certain point. Well, we'll have a 2-week buffer so that students who are a little bit behind still have the content that they need, and students who are a bit above where they're supposed to be have the ability to continue to learn ahead of the curve.
As a parent, I'm curious how you would talk to me about why your platform is the best. Like, how are you thinking about that engagement with parents?
Of course. So I think as parents, we all, I'm not a parent, but I can imagine that as a parent, I would want my child to enjoy to learn, and not just enjoy, but really be immersed in the experience. A lot of times these tutoring platforms, they're a push, not a pull. The whole idea of Edua is how do you make tutoring a pull rather than a push? And so even though I don't envision students being on the platform for hours on end, I do envision students coming on the platform 15 minutes, 30 minutes to play an interactive tutoring session with a friend. And so that way they enjoy the learning experience and they're building community as they learn. And so what I would say to parents is, your children are going to internalize what they're learning, and they're going to be able to do it by building great friendships along the way.
Great.
Go ahead. One more thing I think is very interesting is the way that we compensate tutors. Tutors are compensated by the number of viewers that they receive on their session. And so when the app would scale, let's say the average tutoring session received around 3,000 views. If you compensate tutors on a percentage where they would make maybe $150 per session, a tutor can make up to six figures on Edua. What that means is that people who traditionally wouldn't become tutors can become tutors. Those doctors that don't want to practice medicine anymore, they can become chemistry tutors or biology tutors. Those VCs who don't want to invest any more money, they can come on, and if they have a real love for tutoring and for history, they can become history tutors. And so it opens the floodgates for who can become a tutor. Again, there's more. I
gotta cut it off,
okay,
but they did a great job, Juan. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to bring our final competitor to the stage today. We have Vanessa Avalos from Luna y Cielo.
Great, thanks for having me, everyone.
I think, Juan, we need you to go off camera maybe.
Do you remember when Edward James Olmos in the movie Selena said, "We have to prove to the Mexicans that we are Mexican enough, and then prove to the Americans that we are American enough"? As a second generation Mexican American, this resonated so much with me because I felt stuck between two cultures. I didn't learn Spanish growing up due to fear of racism while we lived in Texas. And now as a mom, it's imperative that my third generation children learn Spanish so they stay connected to the roots and have more opportunities. My name is Vanessa Avalos, and I am opening the first ever bilingual Spanish playroom so that our children can continue keeping the Latinx culture and the Spanish language alive. Luna y Cielo will offer imaginative play with Latino inspirations, Spanish classes, a retail shop with bilingual items, and a cafe serving cafecito with Latino comfort foods. There are other academies teaching Spanish. However, what sets Luna y Cielo apart is we will focus on teaching the language through classes, promoting the use of language through play, through cultural experiences, and building a community of folks who share the same passion. Dual language classes are a great start, but our children need more opportunities to continue the language outside of the classroom. We will offer extracurricular classes like a cooking class, a book club, or cultural classes, all in Spanish so these students can apply what the schools have already taught them. You might be saying, what would happen if other playrooms began offering more Spanish programming? And I would say that I am uniquely positioned to make this a success because I am passionate and about bilingualism and deeply involved in this community. For the last 4 years, I have been on the board of Chicago Latina Moms, a nonprofit Facebook community group of over 3,400 members raising Latinx children. I noticed a lot of moms asking, where can my children learn Spanish? Or I saw comments like, if Greeks have Greek school and the Jewish have Jewish school, why can't the Latinos have Latino school? So I decided to answer their needs, and the response has been overwhelming. During the pandemic, we took the time to launch our idea with my network, began building an audience, and have taken them on our journey. The feedback has been truly amazing. One mom says that Luna y Cielo is a need for our community to continue our culture and traditions, and she can't wait until our doors are open. Last summer, we hosted Spanish music classes, beginner Spanish classes online, sold cultural kits, bilingual books, and bilingual shirts. To date, we have generated $10,000 in revenue, and we could have generated more. However, our online students were screen fatigued and preferred to wait till our classes are in person. Our parents continue reaching out for programming, but we are focused on getting our brick and mortar open. We achieved all of these accomplishments with $0 in marketing expenses. I surveyed 100 people and 98% said they were looking for Spanish programming, and 85% said it's not easy finding Spanish programming. As a mom passionate about bilingualism, I can attest to the need for more bilingual programming. Luna y Cielo will have 7 streams of revenue, including memberships, classes, and birthday parties, to name a few. Our yearly revenue goals are $500,000, and our profits will be around $250,000. Our future goals include opening additional locations around the city and the suburbs, and we would also like to franchise so that other Latinos can build wealth alongside us. I am here today for capital to secure a location, find more funding so that we can purchase equipment, complete our build out, and open our doors. Join me and the other 174 million people who are on their way to becoming bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural by the year 2050. Thank you.
Good job. Okay, you can stop sharing your screen and we'll invite the judges back on for some questions.
I am curious, sorry, I'm having allergies, but I am curious as to what are, because you surveyed 100 people, like what are some of the things that stood out from those surveys that you're like, yes, this is something that people want in the market?
So what I have heard is, a lot of them are first generation. They were used to speaking Spanish at the home, and then lo and behold, they have their kids and all of a sudden they forgot to speak Spanish to their kids, or maybe one of their partner is not Spanish speaking. So like myself, like it was hard for me. My husband's Mexican, he doesn't speak Spanish. So it was kind of hard to make sure that we made sure that we spoke to the kids in Spanish. Another thing that I've heard is, just the support, like if you go into another playroom and everyone else is English speaking, everyone defaults to English. So just having a community where kids can come and know that they're coming to speak Spanish is something that's going to be beneficial, because the expectations are everyone's doing it, so we all want to do it together. So our also plan is to also have workers who are going to play with the kids as well and make sure that everyone is learning Spanish and speaking Spanish, because I know some of the parents that are going to come don't speak Spanish. Depending on what generation you are, you might have a lower capability of speaking Spanish. So we really want our play associates to help promote that language within the playroom.
Kind of along those lines with the play associates and who's teaching these kids Spanish, which there's native Spanish speaker myself. I know there are not that many resources unless you're just looking for like a Duolingo or Babbel type of thing. But
Right.
How big vision, grander vision wise, when you have more locations going on and whatnot, are you thinking that these people that will be teaching the kids will be like parents in the community that work with y'all, teachers who will be doing this?
Yes, so definitely it's a combination of the two. We have, just with the Chicago Latina Moms group that I'm in, I already know a lot of Spanish teachers. A lot of Spanish teachers have already reached out to me. We also have one of my friends who ran the Spanish music classes. She has her own business, but she will need a place to have the Spanish classes. And it seems like a really good natural fit for her to have her classes at my location. We've been talking about this, her and I, for more than a year. And so everyone's really excited. One of my friends I just spoke to recently, she's a Spanish teacher and a principal at a local school. She offered, she's like, I want to teach Spanish classes for free. And I was like, that is a great idea, because there are going to be kids who can't maybe afford to come into our facilities. So really having opportunities of people who are offering their time is really great for those people who don't have the means to necessarily pay for Spanish classes. So when she told me that, I was like, yes, I love that. And I'm on board with providing opportunities for those who would not be able to afford classes to be able to come in and have classes with us for free.
Thanks, Vanessa. Good job. I apologize if I missed it, but can you talk a little bit more about what ages are you thinking? And, is it the broad age of all the way to 18, or how might you start with one age group and grow?
Sure. So generally speaking, these playrooms are usually between 0 to 5. And I personally have a 9-year-old. So, and I know my 9-year-old wants to play still. She doesn't want to give it up. And so I am basically saying from 0 to middle school. So yeah, we're essentially going to have time for, so I have a group of about 200 plus women who are interested in our play cafe, and they actually are giving me ideas. I ask questions, they give me their feedback, and we come to a solution. And that's the best way that I have been able to navigate this. And so, I have even parents saying, hey, what about Spanish classes for adults? And I'm like, if people want that, we will definitely have that, because if there's a need for that, we will meet that need. And it's something wanted. I really feel like, because I've created that community of people asking me questions, giving me their input, this is a communal, I've told them, this is a communal space. I want everybody to give me their feedback, tell me what they want. If we want Spanish classes for adults, we will do that. So I'm
all
really
right, I gotta cut you off. I'm sorry. But you did a wonderful job, Vanessa, and so did everyone today. So,
and you're a Chicago Latina mom too.
I am, and you also know, as a parachute mom, I know a lot about this space. So I have lots of opinions. But great job, and now we have given the judges a very difficult job of needing to go and deliberate and decide who the winner is going to be for today. But before that happens, I am really excited to invite Joey Mack onto our stage, representing Chicago Blend. So Joey he just joined, actually, congratulations, as Executive Director of Chicago Blend. And if you're unfamiliar with Blend, it is an organization that supports diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts across Chicago's VC and startup ecosystem. Joey joined this year, as I mentioned, but he has a diverse background that spans economic development, government, nonprofit sector, and higher education. And before that, you worked at the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, University of Illinois System, and the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. So you've been involved in our ecosystem forever. He's also on the board of directors for the Chinese Mutual Aid Association, the advisory board for the Illinois Sustainable Technology Center, and you were included in Crane's Chicago Business list of notable LGBTQ executives. So thank you so much for everything that you do for our city and for being here, and also for being here very last minute, because Joey was so kind when one of our original guests had to change plans. So Joey, thank you so much for rising to the challenge and coming on and representing Blend. If you could start, just give us a little bit of background on the origins of Chicago Blend and kind of what the mission of the organization is.
Sure. Thanks, Desiree. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the great work you and your team are doing with TechRise. So Chicago Blend is a nonprofit organization, and we are on a mission to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Chicago's venture capital and startup community. We focus on 3 areas of impact. One is getting more women and underrepresented professionals into venture capital. The second is increasing the share of VC dollars that are going to underrepresented and underestimated founders. And the third is increasing diversity on startup boards of directors. And we do this by collecting demographic data about the ecosystem, building capacity for venture capital firms that acknowledge the need for DEI, but may not know how or where to start, general awareness building, and over time, new programs, workshops, and networking. And to that last point, I say over time because Chicago Blend is relatively new. We incorporated just last year, but the story of Chicago Blend started in 2018, in part as a response to the Me Too movement. Because of that watershed moment in our country and around the world, there was growing awareness across all industries that we can do better, and venture capital was no exception. So a dedicated and diverse group of VCs came together to see if there was something that we could do specifically for Chicago's tech ecosystem, not only to advance gender equality, but also greater equity and access for other underrepresented groups, and thus Chicago Blend was formed.
Yeah, thank you. It is so important. And I think it's really important that you mentioned its origin story being part of Me Too, because I think it's one of the great examples of how maybe in the past we haven't always done a great job of this, but in Chicago, focusing on women first and then saying, wait, we cannot just look at one underrepresented community and what's been unfair. We need to look at where the other areas where our funding ecosystem is letting down really high potential founders and future VCs, and just, the future of our startup ecosystem depends on the success of this. So so thank you for the work and for the story of your origin. But one of the things that I would love for us to talk a little bit more about, because it's one of the things that I, as a founder, have appreciated about Blend is the data that most cities are not publishing this kind of data, and some VCs publish it within their portfolio, but don't necessarily own what their own makeup looks like. And so, if you want to take a second, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the importance of transparency on the data of demographics of our city's startup ecosystem.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. And it's an important one, because as the old saying goes, you can't improve what you don't measure. So that's where we started. Chicago Blend gathers demographic data annually to track diversity among professionals working at VC firms, but also diversity among startup teams that are VC backed. So what did we find? Just a couple data points. More than 2 out of 3 professionals working in Chicago's VC industry are men. And in total, 81% of VC professionals are white. Black and Latinx investors make up only 8% of those at established VC firms here in the city, even though they make up more than nearly 60% of the city's total population. Only 1 in 3 investors working at VCs are women. And on the startup front, Black and Latinx workers make up only 22% of VC-backed startup teams. So clearly, we have a lot of work to do in order to achieve equal representation. So to the question about transparency, it's essential, but not just at the community level, which is what we measure, but also at the organizational level. So when it comes to individual VC firms, especially some of the bigger ones, understanding what diversity looks like on their team is important, because it can signal to their leadership that maybe we need to recruit from a broader pool of candidates, or maybe we need to rethink how promotions and career advancement work. And I've talked to a number of VCs that are starting to do that, exactly that. And also for VCs, having good data on diversity across your portfolio companies, across your funnel is important to see if there are other areas for improvement where there are gaps, and what interventions they might need to take in order to broaden their networks to identify more diverse founders like the great ones we heard from today.
Yeah, no, those are all great actions. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on what are some of the biggest levers that we can move to accelerate our equity progress. And I guess we can start with the VC and investor side. What can we be doing as a community besides putting pressure on them to
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, I think that pressure piece is important because it really takes a lot of commitment, prioritization from, LPs, from VCs, tech leaders, and others who are in power that, to really reiterate why this is so important. And a big part of that is awareness and accountability. So that's where I think that data piece really comes into play. At the end of the day, it comes down to hire and wire. That's really what's going to move the needle. So representation and greater diversity among fund managers, angel investors, startup leadership teams, and startup boards is really important. Youth exposure is something that is also really important to raise awareness about VC and startup career paths among young people. And to the point that I mentioned earlier, hiring and promotions, rethinking how that works within venture capital firms, and making sure that you're recruiting from broader talent pools is really important. And the last thing I'll say on this is that it's going to require a good bit of patience. We know that success can't be measured in months and quarters, which is why we need a sustained effort around these things.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I love the mantra, hire and wire for sure. And I think there's I don't know what the third rhyming word is, but we have to make sure that those contracts are comparable, right? It's one thing to check the box and say, oh yes, we have X number of women or X number of Black and Latinx, or percentages are going up. But if we're not getting the same salaries and we're not getting the same check sizes, it's not equal, and we're nowhere close to equity. So I so appreciate the work that you all are doing. How can people get more involved if they're not directly a VC or a founder? If people are, in the audience, I'm assuming since you're a nonprofit, we can contribute. Maybe we can talk about that part first.
Of course, as a startup nonprofit, we have corporate sponsorship and partnership available, opportunities available. So definitely visit chicagoblend.org for more information. Something that all of you here tuning in today can do is you can nominate someone to our blend list. This is our growing list of highly qualified, diverse professionals who are interested in serving on a startup board. And we've gathered more than 100 people so far. I'd love to grow this list to 1,000. So if you know of someone who you think would be great, who might be interested in serving on a startup board, check out the blend list at chicagoblend.org. And then for VCs who want to get involved, please reach out, whether you are interested in lending your time and talents for mentorship, whether your firm is thinking about DEI and trying to figure out where to start, or whether your firm has had some successes trying out some new things and recruiting more diverse investors. We'd love to get you engaged.
Well, I was thinking that we were getting close to deliberation being over, but it's not. So we will keep going on some questions if that's okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the board question, I think that's one that aspirationally, I think a lot of people hope to be on a board at some point. But what do you think that founders of color and early stage VCs or executives of color in our city can do to better connect with startup board opportunities? And what do you think the process is? Because it does feel like a little bit of intimidating, I think, even as a founder, where I know I could bring value. I just don't know how to present myself as a potential board member. And then probably people from kind of our corporate world who would make incredible board members might not know how to make that connection. So what does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so for us, just within our own organization, in addition to having our blend list, we're actually going to be doing kind of like dine arounds, meet and greets with founders and other executive leaders who have walked the walk, who have served on startup boards. So I think that mentorship piece and talking to people who have done it before is really important. And we're not the only organization that's doing that work. There's the board list, there's Allraise, there are a number of organizations that are focusing on this issue because like us, they all recognize that there is a huge opportunity to ensure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is built into the DNA of a company, which is why, making sure that there's representation on startup boards is really important. And then I think the other thing is it does come down to good old-fashioned networking to some degree. And, I'm really grateful that here in Chicago, we have a number of ecosystem partners that are thinking really critically about this issue and what that opportunity looks like. And, I think in Chicago, we are a tight-knit enough community where you can very quickly get to the right people, but it does require intention and work. But lots of exciting things happening, and we're really grateful that we can contribute to that.
Well, we're really grateful too. I'm wondering also, we did skip over a category of investors that is crucial, especially to this stage, of the TechRise stage of things, which is angel investors. And so how does Blend see itself playing a role in helping, catalyze potentially more representation at the angel investor level, or is that part of the priorities?
Yeah, so our organization being founded by VCs, we tend to focus a little more on established VC firms, but I think your point is a really important one, which is, and things like TechRise helping with that really early seed stage dollars. That's really where a lot of founders, whether you're underrepresented or not, need some help. So, I think angel investors also play an outsized role in helping to fuel our innovation economy and launch the next generation of startups. And, though there are some differences in how VCs and angel investors approach investment and how they structure themselves, a lot of the best practices and tactics for advancing DEI remain the same. Thinking about hiring, thinking about promotions, thinking about how you're sourcing companies. It's that intention piece that is really important. And fortunately, here in Chicago, we have lots of VCs as well as angel groups that, are doing things differently, are willing to try things differently. And I think those will offer even more kind of Chicago-centric best practices for how we can do that better.
Yeah, no, that's great. What do you think? So, I agree with you. As we talk about TechRise and the impact, we did our first request for information, and we've gotten some information about the quarter in which everyone was competing, and already we're seeing people get follow-on funding, but we know that the needle isn't really going to move as much for another 12 to 24 months, just because of the nature of the cycles of funding, right? And so I'm assuming you all have the same challenge that we do, which is that we need time for this to prove that we can make change. But in the meantime, I'm wondering what you think about inviting or being more aggressive as a city and getting external VCs to come and do a better job of supporting our diverse founders, and what role can we as kind of ecosystem builders play in making those connections?
Yeah, that's a great point too, because obviously, capital is global, right? So, and I know this from personal experience, Desiree, that, oftentimes you may have to leave Chicago in order to find other investors who might be aligned with whatever it is you're trying to launch, right? So, I think there are some good things that are already happening. I'll point to World Business Chicago and the work that they're leading with Chicago Next. They have been really great cheerleaders and champions for the city. To really demonstrate to the funding community that we have great talent here, including, the TechRise community and so many other pockets of entrepreneurs who may not have that visibility, but with that additional boost could get in front of the right people and do great things. So I think, at the community level, we need to be consistent cheerleaders and again, have that sustained effort to ensure that, venture capital and other investors across the country just know how much great talent we actually have here.
No, I think you're right. And actually, as we speak, I believe our mayor is in San Francisco with World Business Chicago and P33, helping tell the story of what is happening here, because I think we haven't yet commanded the brand awareness that we should about our city and what we're doing here across so many different categories, from our venture community to all the way to our idea stage founders. So I got the note that they are wrapping up. I'm hoping that means they come on pretty soon, but it must have been a very tough deliberation. So I don't know, I guess we could talk about any other things that you guys are rolling out some new initiatives, right? Are you able to talk about them yet, or are they on the DL?
We are, and we have a lot that we're going to be doing, including new programming, workshops, events, ways to create more matchmaking with VCs. So stay tuned for a lot more, but we're really excited, and we appreciate the support of organizations like TechRise, P33, and everyone else who really has come together as a community to figure out how do we get more capital and networks into the hands of the founders who really need them.
Well, thank you. Well, I think everyone's ready to come back video on and announce the winners. So I'll ask the judges to come back on screen, and then all the founders to come on. And I'm sorry, Joey, I meant to say thank you so much for making this time. And we're so excited to be supporting the Chicago Blend. And I'm personally excited to have joined the advisory board. So we can't wait to be a part of this journey with you and hopefully measure impact for many years to come. All right, so now the moment that all the founders have probably been waiting for and everyone's watching. Which judge is going to announce the winner?
I am. I have the great pleasure of being able to announce the winner. But before I do that, I just wanted to say to everybody who pitched today, fantastic job. I love the way that you all are thinking. This was not necessarily an easy decision. When you're in an idea stage, getting to kind of like the validation and getting to your MVP is a journey. And so regardless of whether you win or lose today, I want you to know that the fact that you're on the journey is what's important, and that just like this opportunity, there will be others. Please find a way to contact me. I have a unique name. I'm the only person in the world with my name. So please find me regardless of the announcement I'm about to make, because I would like to see all of you succeed and go on to the next steps and be on this exciting way of being able to provide new services and solutions to people in the world. So with that said, I am very excited to say that the winner is Nana with Lillian August. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing how you leverage this to be able to not only get to that MVP stage, but also find other funding sources. Like that's my recommendation to you of like, hey, you're like going long distance. This is a marathon you're on. How do you use this point of inflection to get on to the next level? So congratulations to you. And I look forward to seeing what you do also in the future.
Thank you so much. This was so great. I'm so excited to be a part of this community.
Well, we're excited that we have a winner today, and that, you know, it's one more founder moving that much closer to starting his or her dream, and, you know, to the other three. I hope you will congratulate her, but also know that you did a wonderful job today, and you are welcome back anytime on the TechRise stage. And we can't wait to get support, mentorship, skills-based volunteers ready for you in the coming months. And so this is not the end of your journey with TechRise, as you know. So congratulations, Nana. And we can't wait to see your products, hopefully on some of our future competitors. Maybe we'll get there in a short period of time. Thank you so much to the judges who took the time today to spend with our founders. And then of course, thank you to Verizon, as always, for being one of our sponsors. And everyone have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy this gorgeous sunshine and nice mild day here in Chicago. And yeah, with that, we'll say goodbye. See you next week.